Are you letting the fear of what might happen in the future steal your peace today? Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "Spend no more time worrying about the future. What is to come is beyond your control." In modern times, we are constantly paralyzed by this fear of the unknown, living in a present dominated by anxiety about what might happen. In this video, you'll discover how the Stoics faced the uncertainty of the future and learn to apply their wisdom to find tranquility in the present, even when tomorrow feels uncertain. What if the fear of the future stopped controlling you? What would you do today if you knew the future had no power over your life? Imagine waking up every day under a cloud of uncertainty about the future. You think, what if I lose my job? What if something goes wrong with my health? What if I never achieve my dreams? These thoughts may seem normal, but slowly they drain your energy and steal your peace. The fear of what might happen prevents you from living fully in the present, keeping you on high alert, always bracing for the worst. Yet the worst almost never happens. Have you noticed how much of our time and energy is spent trying to predict what the future holds? Whether it's fear of losing something, making a mistake, or simply because uncertainty terrifies us, we're constantly stuck on what if, but rarely pause to ask, what if none of this actually happens? Studies show that 85% of the things we worry about never come to pass. Think about that for a moment. The majority of our fears are scenarios created in our minds. Our imagination takes over, forcing us to live in a constant state of anxiety, as if we're always in the middle of a storm, even when the sky is clear. Now, consider how Stoicism addresses this issue. Marcus Aurelius, who led the Roman Empire during times of war and chaos, had every reason to worry about the future. Yet, instead of succumbing to anxiety, he wrote, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." For him, the secret was focusing on the present. The future is uncertain, yes, but the present is where our control lies. The Stoics believed that fearing the future means wasting the only time we truly have, the present. Seneca said, "He who fears the future wastes the present." And that's exactly what happens when we allow our minds to sink into what-if scenarios. Every minute spent worrying about tomorrow is a minute stolen from today. But why do we do this? Perhaps because the future seems like a mysterious, uncontrollable force. We want to manage what's coming. We crave security. But here's the hard truth. The future cannot be controlled. We can plan, we can prepare, but ultimately it will always remain uncertain. And the more we try to control it, the more we lose control over the now. Now imagine what your life could look like if you let go of this need to control the future. Imagine waking up and feeling the lightness of simply living in the present, free from all the catastrophic scenarios your mind creates. How would your life change if you, like the Stoics, focused only on what you can do in this moment, instead of wasting time trying to predict what's next? This is the key the Stoics offer us: embracing uncertainty. Not as an enemy, but as a reality that frees us from the weight of anxiety. Because in the end, what's beyond our control doesn't deserve our worry. When you think about the future, how do you feel? Anxious, worried, or maybe even paralyzed? The fear of the future affects us in different ways, but at its core, it manifests in one very common way. We try to control what is beyond our reach. And this leads to an endless cycle of frustration, anxiety, and stress. This desire for control is a natural reaction, but it imprisons us. When we spend our days trying to predict what might go wrong, we're actually giving up the only moment over which we truly have control: present. Think about it. How many times have you missed out on enjoying the present because you were obsessed with what might happen tomorrow? This is the cycle of fear of the future. It's like walking on a treadmill. You're always moving, but never getting anywhere. The Stoics identified this problem over 2,000 years ago. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, taught that the root of our anxiety lies in trying to control the uncontrollable. He said, "It is not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them." And this perfectly applies to the fear of the future. When we worry about what's to come, we are interpreting the future as a constant threat. But is the future really as dangerous as our minds make us believe? The truth is that the future will always be uncertain. Stoicism teaches us that accepting this uncertainty is the key to mental freedom. Think about it. The more you try to predict and control the future, the more trapped you become in your own worries. But when you accept that the future is, by definition, something beyond your control, you begin to realize that you can live with greater ease. After all, what lies beyond your control shouldn't consume your inner peace. This Stoic acceptance doesn't mean giving up on your plans or dreams. On the contrary, the Stoics believed in living with purpose and intention. Marcus Aurelius said, "The perfection of life is doing what you can with what is in your hands right now." What does this mean? It means the present is where your actions make a difference. The future may be uncertain, but the present is the field where you can plant the seeds for a better tomorrow. Now think about your own life. How many times has the fear of the future prevented you from acting in the present? Perhaps you've postponed an important project, hesitated to make a bold decision, or even missed out on special moments with loved ones because your mind was preoccupied with what might go wrong tomorrow. The fear of the future paralyzes you, but action in the present sets you free. And here's a powerful paradox the Stoics offer. The more you focus on the present, the more prepared you are for the future. Because the future is largely a reflection of the actions you take today. If you spend your time and energy worrying about what you can't predict, you're wasting what is most valuable, the now. But if you direct your attention to the present, doing your best with what you have at this moment, you'll be creating the foundation for a stronger future without becoming a prisoner of your worries. Think about how many times you've worried about something that never happened. Fear creates complex mental scenarios full of imaginary disasters, but in reality, the future rarely unfolds the way our minds fear it will. Most of the time, we find solutions we hadn't even considered, and life goes on, one way or another. Problem is never the future itself, but the power we give to the fear we have of it. This is why the Stoics teach us that true freedom lies in letting go of control over what we cannot predict. By doing so, you not only find peace in the present, but also become more resilient in facing any challenges the future may bring. Now that we understand how fear of the future paralyzes us and prevents us from living in the present, it's time to learn how Stoic philosophy can help us overcome this fear. Here are 5 Stoic principles you can apply immediately to take back control of your mind and live with greater peace, even in the face of uncertainty. Principle 1. Absolute focus on the present. The Stoics believed that the key to overcoming fear of the future was to maintain focus on the present. Epictetus taught us that it's not what happens that disturbs us, but how we react to it. When we channel our energy into what we can do right now, fear of the future loses its power. Imagine you're worried about an important meeting at work happening in 2 days. Your mind begins creating every possible scenario of failure. Instead of getting lost in these thoughts, ask yourself, what can I do now to prepare? By focusing on the present, reviewing your notes or rehearsing your presentation, you strip away the power that fear of the future holds over you and transform anxiety into productive action. Principle 2. Acceptance of uncertainty. Seneca taught us that the future will always be uncertain, but we should not fear it. He said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Acceptance of uncertainty is a foundational Stoic principle because it reminds us that the future will never be entirely predictable. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity. Think of a storm. You can't control the weather, but you can prepare for what's coming. Similarly, by accepting that the future is uncertain, you free yourself from the need to predict what will happen, and instead focus on what you can do now. Accepting uncertainty is, in fact, a way to gain more control over your reactions and less over your worries. Principle 3. Practice mental distancing. Marcus Aurelius practiced what he called mental distancing, a method of observing his own thoughts without being controlled by them. When fear of the future arose, he would ask himself, does this matter as much as it seems? By doing so, he could see his fears more clearly and often realize that what seemed like a major threat was just a mental construction. The next time fear of the future starts to take over your mind, try distancing yourself from it. Ask yourself, is this a real problem right now? Or am I just imagining the worst-case scenario? By doing this exercise, you'll often find that most fears are exaggerations of our imagination, and that in the present, you have more control than you think. Principle 4. Take simple and focused action. The Stoics believed that the best antidote to fear was action. Epictetus said, "The first task of the philosopher is to rid themselves of unnecessary action." When we feel paralyzed by fear of the future, the Stoic solution is to act, but to act in a simple and focused way. If you're worried about a project at work, don't try to tackle everything at once. Instead, pick a small, specific task you can do right now. This not only pulls you out of paralysis, but also puts you back in control of the process. Each small action in the present builds a more stable future without requiring you to predict every detail. Principle 5. Reflect on what truly matters. At the end of the day, the Stoics believed that focusing on what truly matters was the key to living a fulfilled life. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." By reflecting on what is truly important, your values and priorities, you eliminate the noise of future worries. Take a moment to ask yourself, will this fear I have right now matter a year from now, 5 years from now? Often, what causes us anxiety today will have little relevance in the long term. By reminding yourself of what truly matters, you align your actions and thoughts with what is meaningful and let go of the distractions brought on by fear of the future. You've made it this far, and now you hold powerful principles to deal with the fear of the future. The Stoics taught us that the future isn't something we can control, but the present is. It's in the now that you have the power to act, transform, and change the course of your days. The uncertainty about what's to come will never completely disappear, but it doesn't have to paralyze you anymore. The fear of the future doesn't have the power to control your life unless you let it. By applying the Stoic principles we discussed today, you'll take an important step toward living with greater ease, clarity, and purpose. Think about this. What would you do differently today if you knew the future doesn't have to be a source of fear, but a blank page waiting for your actions in the present? The profound truth the Stoics taught us is that while the future may be uncertain, you don't have to be ruled by that uncertainty. By focusing on the present, accepting uncertainty, and acting with intention, you'll be prepared for any challenge that comes your way, without sacrificing your inner peace. If this video has brought you clarity on how to deal with the fear of the future, leave a comment below and share what resonated with you the most. Which of these principles are you already applying in your life? I'd love to hear how this Stoic journey is transforming your days. And don't forget to subscribe to the Stoic Solutions Now channel to keep learning how to apply Stoicism in your daily life. Here we discuss practical ways to use this ancient wisdom to tackle the greatest challenges of the modern world. Like, share this video with someone you know who also needs to face their fear of the future and keep practicing Stoic lessons. The next step is in your hands. Are you ready to turn the fear of the future into an opportunity to live the present more fully?